Hey, welcome back. Today's video is a little different. I just thought it was time to turn the camera on and talk, I guess. Been finding it hard to find stories to want to talk about and dive into, really. Just tired. Exhausted, really. Angry. Sad. Confused. Maybe a little hopeless. There's been a lot of negative news out. I don't know if you guys have seen it. Not negative news, but terrible events, we'll say. No terrible than we've seen in the past, for sure. I thought it'd be helpful if I jump on here, talk to the camera, talk to you guys. One of my problems is I go on to, the internet. I go on to these press places for Vermont, Burlington Free Press, Vermont Digger, VPR, WCAX, Local 22. I go to all these places and I just, read the stories they're putting out. They're the places that news is coming through for Vermont, so I read what other people are, taking in. And then I read these accounts, I read the stories, I read the articles, and I want to know, who's actually taking this in, who is interacting with this, what conversations are being had about that. That's the part that I'm really interested in. I want to know what we're talking about. I want to talk about it with people. Where do you do that? Where do you go to see what other people have to say? You go to social media. I mean, you could go out and talk to people, but right now it isn't really conducive for that kind of in-depth conversation. And a lot of people use the internet, use social media as fact, as knowledge, and the internet can be used for that. The internet itself can be a place to find knowledge and grow knowledge and have conversations and learn and grow, but places like social media are where knowledge goes to die, where information, where details go to be gobbled up and spit out in an unrecognizable way. But that's also where people talk. So I thought, let's go to social media, let's view these places, let's view these news sources, see what people are saying, on these stories to these people, and it is disgusting. It is heartbreaking, it is aggravating, infuriating. It has a way of, pulling you in. Anyway, I went onto these sites, went onto Facebook, went onto Twitter, went to these pages, and just ugly things being said. The people coming to the defense of certain people, it's like, how can you even think this? And that's where the disconnect really comes from me. I try to understand, I try to see where people are coming from. I try to understand, what happens to them to get them to where they are, and how they view the world. And then I see the things that they're saying. I read them at least, and they sometimes go on and on. They can keep going for hours, I think. And I'm just like, what world circumstances get you to this point? And at some point, you gotta realize, yes, the world we live in, I would say, is terrible right now for a lot of people, for a lot of different reasons. And that part sucks, and it shouldn't be this way. And we should have the strength to say, no, this shouldn't be this way. I just want to do something that helps. That's it. I don't know. What does that mean? I for the longest time, had this cloud, this veil over my eyes. If I put good into the world, there are millions of other people doing the same thing that I'm doing, trying to be good, just trying to support and grow and learn and, foster a healthy place to be and live and place where people want to be. I thought that that's what everyone else was doing. I thought that it's literally how the world worked. Learning the hard ways, that's not the case so much. Just trying to find, where I fit. I think that's what we're all trying to do, is find where we fit in all of this. And it is coming abundantly clear that the way that we exist, the way that the United States presents itself, the way that it conducts itself, the way that it is not okay. It has not been okay for a long time, and we're coming to the point where it's not going to stand anymore. We can't keep going on like this. This pandemic has proven as many other things have time and time again, that we are ill prepared for the challenges we face, ill prepared for the challenges that are already here. I always hoped that we would live in, at least us, the country that is bashed into our heads as children is the greatest country in the world. I always held out too much hope, I guess, that we would have it all figured out, you know? How can we live in a society that allows people to justify protecting property over protecting lives? I guess I just don't understand what can fill someone with so much hatred for another group of people. We don't like to confront the things that make us terrible, because we are terrible. Our foundations are terrible. Where we come from is terrible. And we need to acknowledge that before we can really begin to move on and grow from where we find ourselves. There's no more waiting. There's no more niceties. There's no more hoping. It's now. Now is the time to do this. I don't know what else we could possibly be waiting for. We have the resources. We have the knowledge to make this country, make Americans' lives, make so many other people's lives better. You just have to want to do it. I feel like it's a waste of our time to have to keep talking about the same things over and over again. That seems to be the conversations we're still stuck in. Having to point out why the police shouldn't have the right to decide who gets to die in the middle of a street. Why the police shouldn't get to decide if they're the judge, jury, and executioners of any situation. Why civilians shouldn't decide who lives and who dies. You can't justify killing a person because you think they may have done something wrong. I just don't understand why we spend so much of our time fighting each other. We live in this society together. We all live on this planet together. And I know I am tired. I am exhausted. For the longest time, I didn't even know why. It feels like we're fighting a fight that so many people don't want us to win. And honestly, I think it is true. I didn't want to get up here and have to explain or talk about, like we have time and again, why Black Lives Matter. Why we should care about these unjust killings, about the years and years of racism and discrimination and disenfranchisement and just utter oppression of giant groups of people. I didn't want to have to be someone else to have to explain that. I just don't know how much more clear it needs to be. I understand why people might want to break a window or set a building on fire. We've been asking for help. We've been asking for change for years and years and years, and our calls are unanswered. Just because you don't like how the communication is coming across doesn't mean you can't try to understand. How else are we supposed to ask for your help? Are we supposed to just go extinct? Because that seems like that's the only option you want left for us. I don't know how I can talk about so many other things when I see how people are. And I know that there's so much more outside of this state. But it only gets scarier from outside of here. They only get worse once you leave this state. And if you think Vermont is exempt, free of any of this, you are sorely mistaken. It's just something we're making up. Racism doesn't exist. White privilege doesn't exist. White supremacy doesn't exist. Colorism doesn't exist. All of these things do exist. You just turn a blind eye to them. As long as we keep dying, we will not be silent. There will be more fires burning. I want you to understand that I speak for me when I say all of these things. I have no interest for speaking for any of my other Black brothers and sisters out there. Any other members of the BIPOC, QT-BIPOC community, I have no intention of speaking for them when I say these things. But this is just an echo of a cry that has been being projected for years, for decades, centuries. I may not know who my ancestors are, but I can feel their cries. And I have decided that I will become a catalyst to help those cries provoke change. Because we can't keep doing this anymore. I hope that I can come back in our next video and kind of be a little bit more optimistic. We ain't gonna live like this anymore. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting a like and subscribing to our channel. Catch us over on Twitter and Facebook as well if you're interested. Yeah, let us know what kind of stuff you want to hear us talk about here in Vermont or in general. Yeah, we'll see you next time.